Poverty is a demon. Poverty is an industry. You will be shocked to know that there are men and women at the top whose work is to ensure that the influence of poverty remains relevant for ages. This is true. And we have an absolute responsibility to ensure that we remove ourselves from the jaws of poverty. Poverty is a demon. There are agendas and ideas we cannot be able to push at the top because of poverty. Without resources, we are not able to push ideas. Without resources, our knowledge, our wisdom, they are nothing. There is no way we can save the world being poor. There is no way a poor man can save the world. There's a time in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes, the Bible says that there was one wise man, yet poor. Remember, he saved the whole city, but the man was never remembered. So having wisdom is not adequate if you don't have the resources to push the wisdom. You understand? And this wisdom has to be accompanied by some good resources, some serious wealth, so that you can legislate policies from a point of authority, so that you can set agendas from a point of influence. So what are the four causes of poverty? Remember, I have always maintained on my channel, there are no poor nations in the world, and there are no rich nations in the world. It is when the number of poor people in a nation exceeds the number of rich people that we call the nation poor. In the same way, it is when the number of rich people exceeds the number of poor people that we call the nation rich. You see, so nations are not rich, nations are not poor. It is the quality of individuals therein that determine the placement those nations get. So poverty is not an African thing. I want you to get me clearly. Poverty is not an African thing. This is a mindset. And I have seen people dying in the overseas, dying in their numbers, trying to close the oceans, maybe thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. It is never greener there. Grass is always greener where you water it. And it's so fortunate that we are going to learn how to water our grass, so that even when people from the other side look at us, they can be able to say the grass is greener. Remember that countries like Dubai, in 50 years time, like 50 years ago, countries like Dubai was nothing but a desert, characterized by tribesmen, Arabian tribesmen, with camels as the only means of transport. Look at where Dubai is today, the sprawling shopping malls, the high-end cities. You have seen the skyscrapers, unbelievable. Everything in Dubai is running at first-class pace. Why? Because of the quality of the people. Dubai is a desert. You see, everything you see happening there, it's the quality of the mentality that people have. So I want to speak about the four causes of poverty, not just in Africa, because I've told you that poverty is not an African thing. Number one, laziness. When you understand that laziness is a disease, it's a virus, you will wake up and work. Nothing works until you work. Nothing works until you work. When you see something working, there is somebody in the background. A little sleep, a little slumber, and a little folding of arms to rest, then poverty will attack like an armed robber. You cannot be relaxing day and night. In the last video I said, you cannot be sleeping like you're competing with the dead. It cannot happen. You can't make progress. You can't make it for anything, because poverty is a virus. This is a demonic virus. And when men and women contact this virus, there is nothing you can do unless now you help them to understand how they can majestically walk out of laziness. Because to a large extent, you can credit the laziness, you can credit the poverty of nations to the laziness of individuals. If all individuals could decide to work a notch higher, to do better than they are currently doing, we would see the transformations. For example, if all of us could get an additional zero on our salaries, on our income, we are always a level higher. We will be turning into a completely different level, because that is what we need for growth. So laziness is, and I maintain, laziness is one of the leading causes of poverty. Remember, we can only become on a higher level who you are on a lower level. Hardworking students in school always emerge at the top. This is exactly what happens in life. Sometimes you become so hardworking, you become street smart, you become everything, you learn, you be diligent, and at the end of the day, you are able to secure yourself a place at the top. So be diligent, because laziness is a leading cause of poverty, not just in Africa, but everywhere in the world. Number 2, lack of vision. Where there is no vision, people perish. Where there is no vision, people perish. People perish because, when target is not defined, confusion is inevitable. Where target is not set, confusion is inevitable. If you don't know where you are going, anywhere will lead you anywhere. If you don't know where you are going, anywhere will lead you anywhere. So one thing we need to understand is that poverty is caused by lack of vision. If I don't have the objectives, if I don't have the strategies, if I don't have the tactics to walk out of poverty, that means there's a likelihood that I'll remain in poverty for the rest of my life. You see, and this is a generational influence. If people don't know where they are going, if people don't understand their mandate, they are likely to remain poor for the rest of their lives. So vision is key to walking out majestically from the shadows, from the corridors of poverty. Get a vision, catch a vision, and start working on the vision immediately. Number 3, sleep. There are people who sleep completely. There's a difference between sleeping and laziness. And some people think that being busy equals being productive. No, you could be a busybody. Being busy does not equate being productive. You could be effective even when you are not busy. And this is where the aspect of sleep comes in. How many hours do you sleep, and why? There are two types of people. There are people who go to sleep when they can't handle it anymore. And this goes to the young people. You should take your yoke when you are young. Otherwise, when you get old, taking your yoke becomes difficult. I have always maintained you can only become on a higher level who you are on a lower level. We don't grow big to manage well. We manage well to grow big. And it is the virtues we develop at a very young age that help us to grow in wisdom, in prosperity, and in influence. So my point is clear. How many hours do you sleep? And I've always said you cannot sleep like you're competing with the dead and expect to make it for anything. It doesn't happen like that. This is very serious. My call today: how many hours do you sleep? Why do you sleep that much? A little sleep, a little slumber, and a little folding of arms to rest, then poverty will attack like an armed robber. Poverty will attack like an armed robber. You understand that? So that is the leading cause of poverty. Don't forget, the Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs that only a fool sleeps during harvest time. When you are a young man, it is time to harvest. The energy, the time, the resources are available for you to work. You cannot afford to sleep, because only a fool sleeps during harvest time. Number 4, indiscipline. I have never seen a successful, indisciplined man. I have seen interviews, I've watched interviews of men and women who rule from the top. These women and men have a serious work schedule. You cannot be productive without a schedule. You have to get a working schedule. You have to get a plan. How organized are you? Indisciplined people drink anyhow. Indisciplined people eat anyhow. Indisciplined people, when they feel like walking out, they walk out. When they don't feel like going to work, they don't go. When they don't have a routine. Successful people are strict on their time. They don't waste time. They have a routine, they have a schedule, and every other thing, including their finances, no matter how ranking they are in terms of wealth, their resources are accounted for. Indisciplined people cannot account for their resources. Most of us plead guilty for this. Sometimes directly, other times indirectly, but most of the times directly. We plead guilty for indiscipline. Even, when we don't account for our time, energy, and resources, we are not able to get to the places of influence. There is no place for an indisciplined man. There is no place for an indisciplined woman. At the top, only disciplined people reign. And I'm telling you this for a fact. I want you to take this as a challenge. Go and study the most successful people. They have a schedule, they have a diary. They can tell you, I'll be here by this time, by that time. And when that time is over, they are doing something else. Poor people don't have respect for their time. You can engage their time any day, anytime, anyhow. You can organize for them tomorrow, an event for them tomorrow, and they are going to attend. Probably they are not going to benefit directly. You understand this? Indiscipline is a leading cause of poverty. I'll be giving you a story on one of these videos. I'll be giving you a story on how Singapore was able to rise in a span of 20 years through the metrics of discipline. Imagine those guys who are being told by the Prime Minister Liu Kang that you are going to save a certain percentage. Imagine you being told to save 20% of your income mandatory. This is your income, you worked for it, your time was yours, everything was yours, but mandatory. You're going to save your own income. Do you get that? You're told there is no chewing gum. You're told there is no loitering, there is no littering the fields, there is nothing like, an indisciplined man, an indisciplined woman in the streets, or drug crimes punishable by death. Do you understand this? Or sex crimes punishable by death. Whether you're seducing, in Singapore, in Kenya and other parts of the world where the freedom of dressing is so rampant, you realize that people say, my dress, my choice. You've seen those hashtags, my dress, my choice. In Singapore, my dress, my life. Because when you're walking out, you look at yourself. Am I going to seduce somebody? Am I a victim? Could I be a victim of punishable by death? Discipline is principle. It is paramount at the same time, and we need to do this. Let us increase the time we work. Let us increase our productivity. Let us increase our seriousness. And this can only be achieved through discipline. Have a schedule, and when you do that, you realize that you move from one level of finances to the other, because finances respond to our discipline. This is true in everything. I'm telling you. I hope this video was helpful. If you're watching Jenganjero for the very first time, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel.